Good afternoon, Flosstube.
I'm Little One.
And I'm Lynette here at Homesteading on the Homefront. It is Friday, March 20th, the first full day of spring. And we're coming to you with an update because it's been a month and a day since our last video. So it was time. You will notice that Little One is here with me, and that is because they, like every other school-age child in the world, is out of school. We've been told until April 7th at minimum. Not convinced that's going to happen. I think we're going to go a little later than that. We'll see. We are holding our own here, loving the downtime, loving slower pace of life.
Yep.
Like many have said, we've been training for this forever.
I miss my friends a little, though.
Yes. But it is not the homesteaders who are panicking in these situations. Let's just say that. Okay, so let's get right into it. Hopefully we'll have a decent length video for you. I have found myself watching a lot of Flosstube and wishing that people would make videos because I miss visiting with my friends. But I do understand that those with littler kids probably don't have the time. So anyway. All right, finishes. When last we spoke, I was working on Bird Tree. And that is now all done. And the chart has been sent back to its owner. I have no idea what I'm going to do with this. No idea how I'm going to finish it.
I do.
Are you making fun of me?
Yeah.
So this was, I should have said, this was a pattern by The Good Housewife. No longer available, not available on her Etsy store. I really wish she would bring these Colonial Garden series back because I want to do all of them. And then I have been working on Scenic Farms since last February, so over a year. And I finished it. Now, I should say, for those of you who are wondering, all in these trees up here, it called for hundreds of French knots. Hundreds of them. And I just couldn't tell from the picture that it really added anything, and so I decided not to fight with it. So I'm just going to scroll slowly so you can see.
It looks like a picture.
Doesn't it look like a picture?
Wow.
Yep.
That could have been taken from our backyard.
It could have been. Here we go. Now, I did not do the sheep because to me, it does look like a picture until you look at the sheep. The sheep just kind of looked, I don't know.
They kind of look like Misty.
Kind of, not comical, but they didn't look as realistic, I think, as the rest of the picture. So I decided not to do the sheep. My apologies to all of my sheep-loving friends. So this is going to get framed in a barnwood frame sometime between now and August when it will be entered into our fair. The special contest theme was down on the farm, and so that's going to be my entry into that special contest. And we'll see if I get a ribbon. I got... So basically how the special contest works is any of the handwork divisions can enter into the special contest. So cross stitch, crochet, knitting, quilting, sewing outfit, like just all of the handwork individual classes can join in that division or that special contest. And they choose winners. 2 years ago, I got 5th place for a winter theme. Last year's theme was my grandmother's attic, and I got 2nd place with Quaker handwork. And so this year, I want that 1st place ribbon. It's a pretty one. So we'll be framing that up and getting that ready for August, but obviously not high on the priority list at this point. And then we have some FFOs because we've been home stitching and crafting.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
So mine is the Sue Hillis watermelons that Helen D gave to me a year ago.
A year ago at Frugal Yankee.
Yeah, I didn't start it a year ago. It's almost been a year.
When did you start it?
At StitchCon last year. Ta-da. We bought this wood thing that it's on.
It's a cheese board. In fact, turn it over. It had all these tiles, so we couldn't get these two tiles out. Because originally I was going to just plop it in here. And then I realized there's this, I don't know, cutout thing up here. So I said, well, we're just going to paint it and mount it on the back. And it's the perfect size for it. Tell the people how much you paid for the cheese board.
Like 50 cents.
We found it at a yard sale very shortly after Frugal Yankee and knew that it would be the perfect size. So this has been waiting in the winds for the watermelon. So I went to Walmart this morning. I hadn't been out of the house in a week. Wanted to just get some fresh vegetables. And so I went to Walmart at 7 o'clock when it opened. It was not a miserable experience. It was fine. People were fine. They were polite. They were keeping their distance. I was able to get everything on my shopping list. I made a 2 weeks worth of menus. And everything on my list was there. So obviously I wasn't looking for toilet paper because they had none in the store. But everything food-wise was there. And so I knew I needed the white rickrack because we didn't have any. And then I found this pink fabric. And I said, ooh, I think that's going to match the watermelon. And sure enough, it's like a perfect match.
I did change the threads to match several, I don't know if it's several others, but at least one of the other watermelon projects that I've done. And so I will continue using those colors with the remaining
Watermelon projects. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that came out. I love this. I think it's really cute. Is this also going to be fair bound?
Probably. Maybe I'll get Judge's Choice Award for third time in a row.
And then this is a start and a finish and an FFO since we last spoke. Beginning of March, I wanted to start Where Hearts Rest by Brenda Gervais. I have loved this pattern. I bought it the end of last spring, I think. It was like probably the end of April, beginning of May, because I knew exactly how I wanted to finish it. And I bought a little bird's nest at Michael's on clearance when the spring things were going out. And so the beginning of March, I started this. My original thought was I could stitch everything and then just outline the letters in the nest and in the bird, and then I was going to fill in everything for Frugal Yankee. Well, of course, we were not able to have Frugal Yankee. We were supposed to be there today. This was going to be the start of Frugal Yankee. We were able to reschedule to the first weekend in May. So I only know right now of one person who definitely cannot make it that weekend. So we're hoping that the majority of people who were going to be able to come will be able to make the new date. Mm-hmm. We're hoping things settle down by then and that we are able to hold it. So anyway, I didn't want to wait until May to have this done because then it wasn't really going to be spring anymore. So I stitched and finished it this morning. And then, I kid you not, like maybe an hour, not even an hour after I finished stitching, it was all FFO'd because I knew exactly what I wanted to do with it. So this is not a grapevine wreath. It is just a circle of grapevines. When we lived in Virginia, I had taken a class at a state park, and I learned how to weave baskets out of grapevines. And so my dad collected a bunch of grapevines so that I could make them into baskets. And it never happened. These grapevines came to Guam with us because I thought I was going to weave baskets in Guam. Didn't happen. Finally, many, many years later, the grapevines are getting used. Here's the nest I bought at Michael's, and I just have it kind of hanging on the front door.
It's cute.
Now I can take this off because I can. And so I can show you the changes I made, because I made a couple of them. Where's my original? Here it is. Okay, so originally it said bird's nest where hearts rest, and the S's were really funky. I don't like the S's like that. So I changed it to say welcome to our nest, and then I made the S's normal so that it was easier to read. Mm-hmm. And so I just attached, here you can see I laced it, and I just sewed some ribbon on to hang off of the grapevine. This will be very easy to do something else with if ever I want to put it on a board or whatever. But I really enjoy how it's hanging. Let me put it all back together. We're going to have to see how long we can last before I have to hot glue the eggs in. But there it is. There. So I really like this one. All right, so that's our FFOs. So what are you working on now?
I have finally gotten back to my Abigail Adams sampler. It's like Blackbird.
Yes, where's the...
You never got the...
I did grab the...
You did grab the...
I did grab the book.
Oh, it's right here. Right here. It's this one.
And this is from the Sweet Land of Liberty book.
This has been a year working on it.
Yeah, when did you start it?
Frugal Yankee last year. I did a little bit on the border. I finished up a thread I had there, and I started on this flower. But otherwise, not much progress there, but it's back out.
I'm so excited that she's working on this again. I can't wait till you finish it. It's going to be gorgeous.
I'm avoiding working on the light blues because I don't know what I was doing with them. I'm going to have to figure it out.
We'll have to figure out what color you were using.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a couple whips. The first one was part of my market haul. Brenda Gervais, of course. Star Spangled Spectacular. Now this one is stitched 1/1 on 28 count. So I got out some linen or Lugana, or I don't know what this is. Monaco, I don't know what it is. And it's a higher, it might be a 30 or a 32 count. So what I'm doing is just tent stitch. And so it's going really fast, and it's really tiny, and I really like it. So I'm going to be working on this one. It is probably a daytime project. I don't know how it's going to go at night with the lighting. But I'm enjoying that one. And then my second current whip is also a new start since I've seen you. I haven't told you this story either. So in July, if all is right in the world, my mom and I have airline tickets. We are going to go to Sweden. We are going to be staying with her second cousin, who we've never met in person. We didn't even know she existed until a couple years ago when I cracked a brick wall in my genealogy and was able to find information about my great-grandfather. And so we will be going over and staying with Solveig and her family. Solveig's mother and my grandmother were cousins, so that means Solveig and my mother are second cousins. And so we are hoping, obviously, that we can make this trip and get over there. My great-great-grandparents' homestead is still in the family, which means we're going to be able to see it. We're going to be able to go inside of it. There are no words. There are no words to describe how excited we are about this trip. And so I hope that we are able to do it. So anyway, because we are staying with Solveig and her family, I wanted to do something as a hostess gift. And we were struggling with what could we possibly bring that would be meaningful. And so my father said, well, why don't you do one of your things? And so I got to thinking, and I remembered in one of Teresa Kitten Stitcher's zines, there was a sampler, and I believe it was from Norway. It wasn't Sweden, but it was definitely a Scandinavian sampler. And so I had wanted to do that eventually with my great-grandmother's name on it. And then I had been looking through this book that a friend of mine had given me. And I found this sampler. Now, there are two patterns, or two pictures in this book that the charts are not in the book, and this is one of them. It was published in the 70s. It says, if you want it, write to the Swedish Handcraft Society. Well, I don't even think the Swedish Handcraft Society still exists. So I was inspired by the colors in this sampler and also the border. And you can see in the alphabet, where is it? Right over here, where they added the extra vowels that they have in the Swedish alphabet. And so I am going to be taking these colors and this border and these vowels and using the chart from Teresa's e-zine as far as the lettering goes. And so I have started right here. Just a very little start, but it's something. And I am hoping that that is done by July when we are able to board a plane. Keep your fingers crossed. So those are the two that I'm working on, hopefully until the end of this month. Beginning of April, I really want to get Jessie Robertson out again. I will say it again, speaking of Jessie Robertson, Lila's Studio had a market release with a sampler called Janet Robertson, and the colors are very, very, very similar. And so I think that would be a fantastic companion piece. If you are stitching Jessie, go check out Lila's Studio, her Janet Robertson sampler. If you have purchased Janet Robertson from Lila's Studio, go back and check my 3,000 subscriber video. There's a link to download Jessie Robertson. I can't tell if they're related. I don't know. But they use the same colors because they're both, I'm assuming, Scottish samplers. So anyway, long story short, I want to get Jessie out at the beginning of April and stitch on it until Easter, when we are going to begin Savior's Praise. So I have all of my colors for Savior's Praise. I have my fabric. I'm all set to do the border. I am going to be changing the words, so I need to do some charting as far as that goes. But that's where we stand on my plans. No, my whips. Well, that kind of went into plans, didn't it? Mm-hmm. All right, well, then let me finish my plans. Because I do have one more. So, Frugal Yankee is coming up, and I need something to fill in, right? Because I don't want to be counting at Frugal Yankee. So, I dug this one out and kitted it up. And my plan is to do all of the dark outlining so that at Frugal Yankee I can just fill in with that brownish tan color. And then maybe I can come down at Frugal Yankee and just work on these straight lines, because that will be quick and brainless as well. So at some point I want to start this one. This is Give Her by La Di Da. All right, what are you going to work on?
So after I finish the Abigail Adams sampler, which probably won't be for a while knowing me and my stitching schedule, but
maybe you'll be surprised if you're not going back to school.
Maybe if I can figure out what I'm doing with those light blues. I'm going to start this Dimensions kit that I got for Christmas. Yeah, we've done a puzzle of this. We did it in Guam.
Frederick the Literate.
Yeah. Kind of looks like Max.
It does look like Max.
It's big and it's got a lot of stitching, but I'm really excited because, I don't know, I just think I'll have a fun time stitching it.
And the sooner you start it, the longer you'll have to work on it.
Yeah.
All right. So that brings us to haul. I've already showed you Star Spangled Spectacular. The only other two pieces that I got, here we go, Sewing Club, right? Had to do it. I was one of the lucky ones who got in. Teresa had this on her website and it sold out. And then she restocked it. And I got in on that second restock. So the reason that I got this one is because I loved this one. Now, I just showed you Give Her by La Di Da. And this one too is Proverbs 31. I believe it is. Yeah, she works willing. Yeah, I think this is Proverbs 31. My big pet peeve with this one is if you look at the L's. When I first saw this online, I could not figure out what this word was. I was like, wissing? She works wissing hands? I couldn't figure it out. Now, the solution to that is very easy. Instead of making the L's curve like they're an S, you make them curve the other way. And so I will be doing that when I stitch this sampler, because that just, it drives me crazy when alphabets and words are hard to read. When words are hard to read because of the alphabet. It was the same thing with the nest, with those S's. My final piece of haul, I have been resisting this one, you guys. I've been resisting this one for so long. It's got the eyelet alphabet, which you know I'm a sucker for. And then the colors. And it's symmetrical. Like, it's all the things that I love, right? So Harriet Elizabeth Coe, which is funny to me because Eldest has a friend whose name is Elizabeth Coe. So anyway, I will probably be putting an ancestor's name in here. I haven't figured out which ancestor it will be, but it will be somebody that means something to our family, because obviously Harriet Elizabeth Coe does not mean anything. But Farm Girl, seeing her progress on Instagram, like, I just couldn't resist it anymore, so it came home with me. And then I do believe I was supposed to pick up from the World in Stitches. I had pre-ordered Consider the Lilies, so that will hopefully be waiting for me when we get up there in May. So that's it. I think that's all I have. You got anything else to add?
No.
All right, you will be hearing from me probably next week. I've got a special video planned. But until then, I wish you happy stitching. Stay home, stay safe, stay sane. Open your windows and let the fresh air in. I meant to tell you that our windows are all open, so you probably heard traffic whizzing by, but it's one of those rare 60-degree days here in March, and so of course we had to open the windows. All right, until then, Flosstube, fair winds and following seas.